Surely you've heard of a 5-step plan before. You've probably also heard of a 12-step plan to deal with alcoholism or other drug-related treatments. But have you ever heard of a 39-step plan? No? Well, neither have I, because that sounds absolutely dreadful. Who would want to take that many steps just to try and deal with just about anything? So don't take the 39-step plan, take this shortcut. But wait, how does that pertain to this game? You'll find out shortly. Actually, it'll take quite a while, but you'll find out. Hiya folks, Fruit and Doggy here, getting back into 39 Steps. When we left off, I impersonated a roadman. And that was pretty much it. More deception on the road. But on the side of it specifically. Not in the ditch though. Let us be very clear on that. This is no ditch deception here. Oh, okay. Just about midday, a big car stole down the hill, glided past, and drew up 100 yards beyond. Its 3 occupants ascended as if to stretch their legs and sauntered towards me. I didn't like their swagger. 2 of the men I had seen before from the window of the Galloway Inn. One lean, sharp, and dark, the other comfortable and smiling. I think he had a lisp. The third had the look of a countryman, a vet perhaps, or a small farmer. He was dressed in ill-cut knickerbockers, and the eye in his head was as bright and wary as a hen's. Again, this man only had one eye, but the thing I noticed more was how it looked, as opposed to the singleness of the eye.
Morning! That's a fine, easy job of yours.
I mean, could be a lot harder, yeah? I slowly and painfully straightened my back after the roadman, spat vigorously after the manner of the low Scot. Because I'm really judgmental, and regarded them steadily before replying.
There's real jobs, and there's better. I would rather have yours, sitting out here in your hinterlands and eat cushions. It's you and your muckle cause, direct my roads. If you all had our licks, you should be made to mend what you break.
The bright-eyed man was looking at the newspaper lying beside Turnbull's bundle. He had the eye of a man who was literate.
See, you get your papers in good time.
Aye, in good time. Seeing that paper come out last Saturday, I'm just 6 days late.
He picked it up, glanced at the superscription, and laid it down again. It wasn't a very good paper. I mean, look at that. Peebleshire Advertiser. Not even a gazette.
You've a fine taste in boots. These were never made by a country shoemaker.
They were not. They were made in London. I got it through the gentleman that was here last year for the shooting. What was his name now?
I scratched a forgetful head. The head of a low Scotsman who drank a lot and couldn't remember because he was so not ill-tempered, fuddle-headed.
Let us get on. This fellow is all right. Let us get on. This fellow is all right. Did you see
Let's get on.
anyone
This fellow's all right.
early this morning? He might be on a bicycle or he might be on foot.
Oh man, that was a really funny mess up. I mean, hey, we all make mistakes. That was just kind of hilarious. I very nearly fell into the trap and told a story of a bicyclist hurrying past in the grey dawn. I very nearly.
Wasn't up very early. You see, my daughter was married last night, and we keep it up late. I opened the house door about 7, and there was nobody on the road then. Since I come up here, there has just been the baker and the Rackhill herd, besides you gentlemen.
One of them gave me a cigar, which I smelt gingerly and stuck in Turnbull's bundle. Hey, nothing wrong with the cigar, huh? They were outside in 3 minutes, and my heart leaped with an enormous relief. I mean, I'm not one to promote homicide, but if he knew that those three were after him and fairly consistently, at some point wouldn't it behoove him to simply whack them off? I mean, if he's able to set up these diversions and alibis and fake identities, it's like, you think he could arrange things so he could just ambush them, right? Anyways, I went on wheeling my stones. It was as well, for 10 minutes later the car returned. One of the occupants would even hand to me. Those gentry left nothing to chance. I finished Turnbull's bread and cheese, and pretty soon I had finished the stones. Personally, I preferred the bread and cheese. The stones were a little too hard. The next step was what puzzled me. Yes, now that I've had bread and cheese and stones for lunch, what do I have for supper? I had a notion that the cordon was still tight around the glen, and that if I walked in any direction, I should meet with questioners. Get out I must. No man's nerve could stand more than a day of being spied on. You haven't lived in America, have you? Then suddenly...
Excuse me, may I trouble you for a light?
The sun's out, isn't it? Can't you see? By an amazing chance, I knew him. His name was Marmaduke Jopley, and he was an offense to creation. Oh, okay. Not a pleasant fella then, huh? But how lucky I am. First meeting. I had a business introduction to his firm when I came to London, and he was good enough to ask me to dinner at his club. There he showed off at a great rate, and pattered about his duchesses till the snobbery of the creature turned me sick. I asked a man afterwards why nobody kicked him, and was told that Englishmen reverenced the weaker sex. Oh man. Oof. He was a sort of stockbroker who did his business by toadying eldest sons and rich young peers and foolish old ladies. He would crawl a mile on his belly to anything that had a title or a million. Okay. So he's a bit of a fop, huh? I've collected that Marmaduke. Now I just have to get Garfield. Anyhow, there he was now, nattily dressed, in a fine new car, obviously on his way to visit some of his smart friends. And he hadn't a clue who I was. Might have had something to do with the disguise. We'll jump right in, of course. Because, you know, that's... what?
Hello, Jopley. Well met, my lad.
Who the devil are you? My name's Hanny, from Rhodesia, you remember?
Good God, the murderer!
Just so. And there'll be a second murder, my dear, if you don't do as I tell you. Give me that coat of yours, that cap too.
Jeez, he sounds like he's about to wet himself. He did his bid, for he was blind with terror. Terror is not a bad substitute for raw dirt in the eye. Over my dirty trousers and vulgar shirt, I put on his smart driving coat. Kind of like a smartwatch. But very... I don't know. It's a coat, what do you expect? Which buttoned high at the top and thereby hid the deficiencies of my collar. Yes, this collar. It would never fit. It was far too illiterate for my type. I stuck the cap on my head and added his gloves to my get-up, which I also stuck atop my head. The dusty roadman in a minute was transformed into one of the neatest motorists in Scotland. Ignore my beat-up hands. Ignore my dirty face covered with grit. Nay, that should not cover up the idea that I'm a brilliant-looking motorist, for I'm wearing fine clothing. I mean, yeah, there's a bit of a simple inconsistency there, huh? Mr. Jopley said. I clapped Turnbull's unspeakable hat and told him to keep it there. So, he wants him to keep wearing the hat. Okay. You wear that hat, or else I'll kill you!
Now, my child, sit quite still and be a good boy. I mean you no harm. I'm only borrowing your car for an hour or two. But if you play me any tricks, and above all, if you open your mouth, as sure as there's a god above me, I'll wring your neck. Savvy?
Just don't hurt me.
No. I enjoyed that evening's ride. I might have choked him a little bit. As the dark fell, I turned up a side glen into an unfrequented corner of the hills. They didn't get very much traffic there. Soon the villages were left behind, then the farms, and then even the wayside cottage. Everything I left behind. Even Scotland. But not the Scotch. Here we stopped, and I obligingly reversed the car and restored to Mr. Jopley his belongings. So, you stole his car, but drove it with him in there with you the entire time. You didn't adjust his clothing at all except to put a hat on his head. And then you were wearing all the fine, fancy clothing, but that wouldn't fit with everything else about your appearance.
1,000 thanks. There's more use in you than I thought. Now be off and find the police.
I'll get you.
Yes, now that the police know I'm here, the bad guys will know I'm here, and that's exactly the opposite of what I want. How is this my plan again? But here's the other thing that comes to mind as well, is wouldn't it have been better if he didn't know the person? That if he just carjacked somebody randomly? Or perhaps asked for a lift on the way? I have no idea. As I sat on the hillside, I reflected on the various kinds of crime I had now sampled. I was finding myself enjoying the criminal life. Maybe I should join those guys who are trying to kill me. Contrary to general belief, I was not a murderer, but I had become an unholy liar, a shameless imposter, and a highway man with a marked taste for expensive motor cars. Okay. I mean, I already didn't really like you very much, but that's cool. Anyways, folks, I guess that's gonna be all for now, and I'll see you later. And as always, fruitin' doggy.